What's going on, friends? Welcome to another week of the Year One Wrestling Podcast, a show that dives deep into the early stages and formation of your favorite professional wrestlers, bringing out their struggles, their fears, and most importantly, their most interesting stories. I'm your host, the King of Chaos, Logan Black, and thank you so much for checking us out on whatever platform you enjoy your podcast. We are all about showing love here, so if you dig what you hear, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, tell a friend. Help us do what you can to get the word out on the show. This week's guest, Big Beef Gnarls Garvin. Him and I, man, this is legitimately the first time that we've ever actually spoken to each other outside of social media or via text, was on this interview. We had a nice long conversation prior to recording the interview, talking about a ton of stuff, watching each other's work. And, I had mentioned having seen a bunch of his stuff on IWTV, and if you want to check out his stuff and my stuff and plenty of other wrestler stuff all over IWTV, you've got to subscribe, get in on that app, and hey, if you hop in with the promo code Logan Black, that's one word, all caps, you'll get your first 5 days free. In addition, if you'd like to support this show with your wallet, go on right ahead. There are two ways to do that. You've got my Pro Wrestling Tee store. That's at prowrestlingtees.com/King of Chaos NYC for a bunch of exclusive shirts that I will never, ever have printed at any of my merch tables, at any show, ever. You can only get them there. And if you want any of the stuff that I currently have at my merch table, you can go on to my Big Cartel store. That is kingofchaosnyc.bigcartel.com for all the stuff that usually has me standing behind a table and yelling at you to buy from it. I'm giving away free stuff with every order, so go ahead and hop on that now. But as I say every single week, every retweet, every share, anything that you do to help this show is greatly appreciated by yours truly. Let's get back to talking about Big Beef. Truth be told, the guy is probably one of my favorites to watch right now. And I say it on the show, legitimately everything that I like about pro wrestling. Big dude, beats the piss out of people, angry looking. Obviously now I know his connection to the punk rock scene, which is dope for me to hear. It's super interesting how, again, him and I always got along. We're always super chill with each other despite never having face-to-face met and never having actually, spoken actual words to each other that weren't typed out. But there is this connection throughout the entire world that no matter what goes on, if you are into punk rock, people are chill with you. And it's just, I don't know, I've learned that since I was in high school and was first, exploring the hardcore scene and all that. But I digress. It was really cool to talk to Beef about breaking in, his start, and it was really cool for me to hear about how this guy set goals for himself and he's been able the whole way through to just crush them. Each way through. He says, by 20, I'm going to be in the wrestling business. Boom, I've got it. Now, if you check out his Twitter and social media feeds, he's talking about Japan, and I'm sure within the next few years, that's exactly where you're going to see Beef. Because it seems to me like the guy sets goals, does everything in his power to get that to happen, and then it happens. Power of positive thinking, power of hard work, power of not accepting no. So I got to give respect to Big Beef for all that. It was also hella interesting to me that, before I cut things off and give that, hey, we're here with so-and-so for everything, I just have a casual chat, get everybody warmed up in the talking and chatting mood. And Beef was like, oh man, I've been super stoked for this. When I was first breaking in, I was watching your stuff, and I'm like, ugh. This dude, already he's gonna be full of shit and blowing smoke up my ass. But, then goes off, nah, I watched you were in this tag team, and, I could tell you were the big, beefy dude, and you were the worker of the team. And he was giving me details of just, first of all, it was shit that I didn't even remember, again, way too many concussions. And I'm saying, oh, wait, this is a genuine guy. And, my feelings that he was blowing smoke up my ass was just purely my own insecurity. And it's really cool because, again, to be told, hey, I was checking your stuff out when I was breaking in. First of all, it was a great feeling, but it was also great for us to be like, hey, man, I am currently watching your stuff, Beef, and watching you is making me excited to wrestle. And I love it. Again, learning way too late in the game that it is perfectly okay to be a fan of pro wrestling and to be a fan of your peers. Wow, crazy concept, right? Fuck that mid-2000s and probably earlier nonsense way of thinking that so many bitter people instilled in me. Still breaking those habits, but that is growth. Really happy to have gotten this interview out. Really happy to have finally spoken with the man, but let's get right to it. Big Beef on the Year One Wrestling Podcast. We are here right now with, it's again, wrestling is crazy in the fact that, like, this is the first time you and I are actually getting to chat with each other, and it is like we've known each other for years. Big Beef, Gnarls, Garvin. Dude, how are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. And like you said, yeah, like, I feel like I've known you wrestling, and I don't even think we've had, like, a face-to-face conversation.
Never.
So I feel like I know you already, so I'm, like, really excited for this.
Social media can do that to you, but I think it's again, man, wrestling has that thing where, like, certain people just end up kind of, like, finding each other. I had that thing with Jeff Cannonball where, like, literally the first time that we ever met each other ever, we chatted like we had known each other for, like, a decade, just because we had the hardcore and the straight edge and, like, a hardcore wrestling, just all the things that, the similar likes, and we're just like, all right, this is family.
Yeah, like a kindred spirit, like, right off the bat. So I feel the same exact way with you, so it's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Well, let's hop right into it. Talk to me about your earliest memories of pro wrestling.
Well, I remember wrestling from, like, some of my first, like, cognitive memories, like, being with my grandma and my pappy Bill, just, like, in a little trailer, just watching WCW, like, I remember seeing, like, Sting, like, coming down from the rafters, and, like, keep in mind, I'm only 25, so I was born in 95, so I'm, like a child, like, watching this and just having my mind blown. Like, it was, like, anime for me. Like, with my siblings, they were, like, crazy into, like, all anime, like, all things, like, cartoon, like, all that, like, just, and that, like, wrestling caught my eye at such an early age that, like, that was, like, my superheroes, like, that stuck with me. So, like, yeah, since I was, like, probably about 3-4 years old, like, I've been watching wrestling.
Did you have any kind of athletic background, either in wrestling or other sports, as you were growing up?
Yeah, I was actually, like, I was the poor kid growing up, so, like, I did not get to start playing sports until they were, like, at our schools. So I got into, like, athletics a little late. I was in 7th grade when I started playing basketball, and I actually played all the way up into college. I played a year at a college in Louisville called Boyce, and I wrestled as well amateur throughout high school. But basketball and wrestling are the same. They're winter sports, so you can't, like, fall winter sports. You can't really, like, play two sports in one season. So I would have to choose year from year. But my freshman, sophomore year, I played basketball. And then I was actually placed into foster care. And I was, like, put in a whole different county where, like, the kids are just, like, 6'5", and, like, they're freshmen. Like, it was just, like, I couldn't hang. So, like, I wrestled, and I did pretty well in that afterwards. So, yeah, lots of sports. I played just about every sport there that you can play at in the high school level, but nothing really, nothing that I was, like, an all-star at. Like, I would be a starter on our teams, but never, like, be all county or anything. So just a, run-of-the-mill athlete.
It's super interesting to me to hear this kind of stuff because going to public schools in New York City my entire life, like, when you hear things about, like, like all county or just, like, the way sports teams works, like, literally anywhere outside of pretty much, like, New York, it's, like, an entirely, like, different way. It's like foreign to me. You might as well be, like, speaking Chinese, which is crazy because dude, like, New York, man, it's very, very different. Like, my high school, we didn't even have organized sports. All of our money went towards the drama program, which was a big deal. It's actually the reason why I ended up going to that high school, even though I dropped out of the drama program pretty much immediately. But it goes to show you, like, the difference, how things work regionally when it comes to how serious certain areas take their school sports, so to speak.
Oh yeah, like, and we're from, like, I'm from a really small, like, town. Like, I wouldn't even call it a city. It's called Brooks, Kentucky, and it probably has, like, a couple thousand people. But the high school, I think the numbers, like, I think we had, like, just over, like, 2,000 students. Like, that's not, like, a whole lot, but it's also, like, it's not a small school. It's, like, all the kids from the surrounding counties go there. So, it wasn't, it wasn't, like, the best athletes in the world, or, like, people didn't specifically go to these schools to play the sports. It was just the sports were took very seriously. Like when you are like, kind of blue collar kids and your family doesn't have much money, what else are you gonna do besides focus on like something that will like allow you to like get the hell out of that town and maybe go to college or something.
Yeah, again, this is all for me as a New Yorker, and I talked to my partner. She's from Baltimore, she's another city kid, and like a lot of other people that I've just been around were always just like city kids. So hearing the whole, doing these interviews and hearing, yeah, man, I just had to get out of that town, or like this was my goal. It's like, well, fuck, like that's just such a different experience, and it's incredible for me to listen to somebody talk about that stuff, because it just really could not be any different from like anything that I had to experience early on. But yeah, man, I'm getting way off track because I'm just so fascinated by the differences in lives and all that stuff. Let's go into where you started out in your journey for pro wrestling. Where did you go? Who was there? What was going on with that spot?
Okay, so initially, like whenever I was dead set on getting in the business. I was 18 years old, and a company literally opened I guess a local Fed opened up like no shit like 5 miles up from my house. And wrestling, I'm from Kentucky. I don't know if I mentioned that, but like in Kentucky, there's commissions, there's like all kinds of stuff that you have to deal with that's kind of like past, like it should not, like, I don't know, business is kind of past that in my mind. But at 18, I was trying to start like 16, 17, like bugging like OVW and stuff, but I couldn't afford it, and plus you got to be 18. So when I was 18, I met a guy named Cashflow, and he was the trainer of the school that was in our area. I went there, and like he gave me like the rundown. I basically was like, yeah, I want to make a living off this. Like, I don't expect to have it anytime soon. And like he just kind of crushed me. He's like, it's not gonna happen for you, man. Like he's like, I can tell you have a lot of heart, but like it just won't happen. So like that kind of crushed me, because also I couldn't pay him like the $2,000. Like, so I was like, shit. So I made a goal in my mind. I was like, by the time I'm 20, I will be in the business. And I saved up money. I got in really good shape. I was just starting working real hard, and then I met my buddy Tad, and he wrestled underneath. Oh, Matt Atreyu. Matt Atreyu is his work name. And, I hit him up on Instagram just looking for schools. And the guy, he got me into the business. And, like, all this money that I've saved up, I didn't have to use because they trained me for free. Which is, like, yeah, it was a blessing, because I was hurting at the time for money. And, like, I literally got to put that all into, like, getting an apartment and stuff. Somehow, like, I was like, I'm going to have to live with my parents for the next 5 years. But luckily, all that money that I had started to save went towards having an apartment. But, I got my break when I was 20, and I started training at UWA in New Albany, Indiana. And the head trainers were Apollo Garvin, Brad McQuarrie, or Bradzilla, that was his work name, and Matt Atreyu. Those were the guys that kind of brought me in and broke me in.
What was that first day of training like for you? I know everyone's got like a different set of stories, but it sounds like the area that you're in is pretty rich with wrestling, because I mean you're throwing around a lot of names and promotions, and like the fact that OVW over there right off the bat is going to give, there's definitely going to be a rush of people to that area to find some type of wrestling employment. So what do you got? What was that first day like?
Oh man, I mean I'm not trying to be braggadocious, but like I took to it like fish to water. People were asking me how long I'd been working, and I'm like, this is just my first day. Like, I've never even been in a ring before. So like it was awesome. Like granted I was terrible as fuck, but like I was able to like bump and like hit the ropes the first time I tried. Like it was awesome to me. Like it felt like I was like in like a fucking little like bounce house. Like it was just like I felt like a kid again, and it was tough. Like they beat the shit out of me, but like they were also like very helpful. Like they didn't I would say this, like my training was not like state of the art, but it was definitely like you're going to learn how to survive in a match. You're not going to get blown up. So it was definitely tough, but I hung with it and I stuck to it, and I never stopped.
There's a certain person that really takes to wrestling like the way that you just described, and I think we all come in as super huge fans of it, and we love it, and there's that, I always say there's that point in your fandom
where you just kind of go, well, either I'm going to be like the super fan who shows up to every show with like 40 belts, or I'm going to fucking do it. And
Yeah.
but and then it branches off. So when you have the people that do it, it's either the ones that like you mentioned, like you hopped in and you just were like a kid in a candy store and lost your shit, or there's also the people that get in there and take that first bump and they're just like, oh fuck, this ain't for me, and then they become the people with the 40 belts.
I mean, I took so many people to training. That was kind of like my deal. Like, hey, if you could bring people and they'll pay $20, you can come for free. So I was bringing people every week. Like, people just quitting constantly. But I'm like, hey, I got free training this week because they paid. Like, I'm cool with it. Like, I'd seen so many people take that first moment and be like, I'm going to get out of the ring.
That's really is what it comes down to. I just going back, and every time I talk to somebody from where I broke in with Johnny Rods in New York, every time I talk to someone from there, there's always the same story of just like, yeah, there were so many people who were there for like a month or 2 months and then disappeared. And it's because when shit becomes real and you got to go home with all those bruises on your back and ribs from the ropes, it's just like, oh, what the fuck choices am I making right now?
Shoot, I loved it. Like, I came home and I was like, yeah, I got bruises. Like, I was proud of it. Like, I was like, when I got chop, like when we had chop classes, I was a kid that was always posting on the internet, like, look at this cool shit.
It's crazy how that entire concept is gonna be the way, it's already gone. I think at this point, the way of the dinosaur in most of the country, and then it's gonna be something that we look back on and just be like, what the fuck was going on there? But that's that was a major part of a lot of places and how they went about their business.
Oh yeah, and I think that if I wouldn't have been able to survive it, they would have legit they would kick people out of class if they would quit during chop class. So I know it's kind of old school and barbaric to be that way, but some of the guys would never actually survived if that was the case.
Let's go into, I mean, you mentioned a couple of the trainers. Was there anybody else in that class that was, that stood out to you or, stuck with it or even helped you out big time?
Well, like I said, my training was completely paid for. So in my mind, that's the biggest help. So I would say, yeah, nobody from my training has actually, they didn't have any matches outside of where we were trained. So I'm the only person to carry that on from our training. So, but yeah, the biggest helps there were like I said, it was Tad and Brad and Apollo, because they showed me everything and they never expected anything from me. So that was awesome. I had a lot of friends that are doing really well now, but they were not from where I was from. They had different trainers and stuff, but yeah, nobody from my school actually made it out of training.
I guess that speaks to your stick-to-itiveness where, there was not success to be modeled around you, but you were able to make it yourself. And I think that's pretty dope in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been the kind of if I want something, I will make it happen, at any length. And I've lost that spirit a little bit because I think I've gotten so used to where I'm at and stuff, and I think about it often, and it kind of brings back that flame. Hey, nothing's your spot could be took any moment. You better you better step your shit up. So I'm very grateful for that. It sucks that none of my friends from training have stuck. I'm kind of a loner out in the world, but in my mind that I don't try to be prideful or anything, but it makes me feel I'm not a quitter.
Yeah, I mean that's an important quality to have, man.
Yeah, I mean I love the guys I train with, but they would be the ones that would quit in the middle of drills and be like, oh, I'm okay, I broke my ankle but I'm back, I'm able to keep training. I'm come on, man, really, you're I get it, it's hard, but you don't have to quit, you don't do that.
It don't be dramatic. We had this kid when I was training a couple of years back. We had this kid who he was kind of a dick, but we had put him through some serious stuff, and we were doing ground grappling and stuff, and he complained that his ribs hurt, and then it said something about dislocating his ribs, and when I went to go look it up online to see what how that works, this kid didn't do fucking anything. He got embarrassed, he got blown up, and I guess he realized that we weren't about to go about that. I hate that drama, man. it's so ridiculous. Just be honest with yourself. Just be like, hey, like I'm not hacking it right now. Like let me go home. Let me do a couple squats and let me come back and figure this shit out.
Exactly. Like there's nothing worse. Like you said, there's nothing worse than that. Like you that takes away from like the time of training. You take away from the focus of the trainer because they got to make sure you're not actually like fucked up. Like that. I don't know. I didn't like the distractions of that stuff. So like a part of me is like, yeah, those guys. Like I miss those guys, but like I know this might sound like crazy, but they did not deserve to like get to have matches in my mind because they're not like actually completing the training. But I have a buddy that I tagged with while I was there, and he actually like me and him were like the two dudes that like would like actually not quit, and he quit after training started. I don't know why, because like we were a tag team. Like he quit on me, so that kind of sucked. But like he was decent, and he's talking about getting back in, but I don't know. Like I don't have much time for that. Like I get people have things going on, but don't make it like that. Like I don't know. I have a big soul and I have a big heart, but not for that.
Yeah, no, I get it, man, totally. We were talking about gimmicks before, and a lot of people that I've had on talk about the ridiculousness of their first gimmick. Did you have a first gimmick at all, or were you kind of just working with your own stuff from the get-go?
No, I was actually like, I guess my first gimmick was, my name was Jay, like literally Jaye, and then King, J King. And my trainer, he's like, look, I know it's a shitty name, and he says, it's because you're shitty right now, and nobody's going to know who you are. So let's just stick with this name, and then whenever you get better, we'll think of something else for you. So yeah, it was just J King for like the first like year of training, like not even like during training, but like when we were having matches, So yeah, I was J King. I had like no gimmicks, nothing. I was just like a white meat baby face, just straight up.
I mean, like again, like if you're working, the indies in Kentucky, like that stuff can kind of work. You know what I mean? Like it's not. I think from what I hear from people, Kentucky's a state that I'd love to work in. I have yet to do so. But I know that the fans in like New York and New Jersey over here, like if you're not, murdering yourself, they're sitting on their hands or their phones. It's a very, very shitty crowds up here. Can't fucking stand it. But I do know that whenever I've worked like either the Midwest or the South or anywhere else, fans are a whole lot more appreciative of a lot of different things. So again, seeing like a white meat baby face, I think there's still room for that to work. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that even at this point, like in the midst of like all the crazy gimmicks that come out and all the, ridiculous shit that goes on in the ring? Do you think a white meat babyface can still get over?
Oh my God, yeah. Like especially in Kentucky, like that's like a lot of the guys, like you probably have never heard a bunch of these guys, and like I mean that's just how it is. Like it's all about putting yourself out there. But like some of these dudes are like some of the best. Like they're like Ricky Morton level baby faces. Like
oh, nice.
Yeah, like, but you would never know, like, you would never even know who they are, like, but, like, there is, like, a lot of that, like, in, like, the Kentucky area, but, like, I mostly wrestle in Indiana, because, like I said, there's, like, a governing body in Kentucky, but there are, like, a lot of, like, straight up white meat baby faces, like, they have, like, gimmicks, but, like, it just doesn't, I don't know, like, there are, like, a lot of, I don't know, I don't want to sound like a dick, but like really bland, like people that don't have much character, but they know how to they have fire and they get the crowd behind them. So like that's, I mean, if you like do a couple arm drags and like hit like you clap and it gets over, that's cool with me.
That's, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying bland, because like you just said it right there. If you've got the fire, that's what matters. Like bland doesn't necessarily mean, like cornflakes, man. Bland could very much mean somebody who just, kind of sticks to what works. There's no, not necessarily any seasoning on it, but shit like that fire, that clapping, those arm drags, shit like the fucking Brad Armstrong, what a phenomenal wrestler, but a drop kick and a couple of arm drags, and he did those fucking perfectly, like picture perfectly. But like that motherfucker made a career out of that shit.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think if I saw Brad Armstrong modern day wrestling, he'd be my favorite wrestler. I'd be like, this dude is the best fucking worker. Like he does it. Like if there's I can't think of a modern day Brad Armstrong, but like that is like the perfect example. Like just like a straight up good looking dude who can just work his ass off. Like I mean, I'm for it. Like, whenever I see this stuff, it gets me hyped because, like, I'm a fan of, like, the old school stuff. Like,
Oh yeah,
I
dude.
like I like the dudes that just wear, like, weird, like, just plain ass trunks and, like, white boots and, like, just trace knee pads, just going out there and, like, just putting it all out there. Like, like, some people don't need a whole lot of flash. Like, some people just go out there and be the white meat baby face. But like I said, if I saw modern day Brad Armstrong, he'd be my favorite wrestler.
And you know what? A modern day Brad Armstrong would probably stand out because there's nobody kind of on like a higher level really doing that. Like, I'm a white meat baby face, because everyone I think is afraid of doing it because it's got that, it's branded as being bland at this point. Whereas like if you've got somebody who's like legitimately playing up the fact that they're, that level of just like, hey, I'm a pro wrestler. Let's talk about your first match then.
Okay.
Yeah. See, that's the reaction that I love to hear, because there's so many different angles to go at. I'm just gonna give this to you. Go right ahead. First match. What about it?
Okay. First match was actually it was a trainee four-way fatal four-way, and it was the only match that some of the guys from my training place got to have. Like, so it was all four of us trainees that like stuck it around to like almost the end of training, and we all had like a showcase. And boy, was it the shits! It was terrible. There's this four green guys out there trying to have a match, and like keep in mind our trainer never taught us how to put together a match. And that is no like I'm kind of glad that I was brought that way, because like if I would have been like trying to like call a bunch of shit like at the very beginning, I would have just been, people would dogged on me. I literally had no clue how to like call like a hope or like a stretch or false finish. Like I had no clue, like literally no clue. So our match had like, it was just kicking and punching with like one or two spots for each of us, and like somehow we went 20 minutes with like all four of us. And like, keep in mind this match is like dog shit, but like I was super proud of it at the time, because I was like, hey, we did everything, and like we had to like, we met, like of course we went too fast and everything we did, so like we did the whole match in like a 20-minute match is supposed to be, like we did it in like 5 minutes. So like we had like, they're like, it's like in the middle of the match, like now it's an elimination. So like we're like, oh shit. So like we literally like, they were ribbing us, but like we had to figure it out, and like we got through it, and I ended up going over. So like, and that was really cool, because like my mom, that was like one of the only matches my mom's been to, and it was nice to like get that like that warm reception from the crowd, because like nobody had ever seen me wrestle before. Like they'd just see me like sweeping the ring and like wiping the ropes and just paying dues on these shows, but like whenever I finally got in front of a crowd, like they took to me, and it was like, oh cool, like this is at least something I could take away from this, is like, no matter, like just always try to get the people, like just engage. Like I don't know, like the match was what it was, but there was a lot more lessons from that than like just having a shitty match. Like
That's the important part, is the lessons that you learn from it.
Yeah, and like plenty of, like I remember everything from that, like all the advice I was given, I remember everything, like seriously, like, and like when people give me advice, I really like, I take it to heart, because I have like I've probably said it, like I have like no like ego, like I want to be better. I'll listen to literally anybody that has anything to tell me, like because even if it's like not the best advice, like just take it for what it is, like maybe you can work on that. Like nobody's above advice in my mind in this business. So I remember everything about that day, honestly, good and bad.
Oh yeah, that's an awesome note to hear. How long were you training before you got that match?
Started in March, and that was like, I think that was what's the month? November, because December is when I started to actually get to like go on the road and like have matches wherever my trainer was going. So yeah, that was however many months that is.
I'm not even gonna bother with the math here. I'll let people listening in attempt to do the math as we continue to work on this. You mentioned going on the road with your trainer. Hop right into it from here. What is your memories from like your first big wrestling road trip?
Oh, I mean, I remember not being booked, like, and I was okay with that. Like, I remember it was just in Illinois, just 2 states over, and just, I don't know, like the guys I was traveling with were the guys that were training me and like helped me. So like, of course we had a good time. Like it was it just seemed like it was like the right, like, I don't know. It's Southern Indiana is kind of like a shithole sometimes for wrestling. So to like get out of it and to like see like new faces and like not have people just constantly be like a fucking jerk to you was like really cool to me. But yeah, like I remember just getting on the road, having like my meals at the time, because I was that guy that had like prep meals, and I'm in a car with like a bunch of like out of shape dudes that are pretty good workers for like, you know, what it is, and like they're like, why are you eating that shit? It smells like cat poop. Like I had tuna and macaroni like packed with me. They're like, God damn it, that stinks. Like I don't know, man. I remember like being like the simplest time in like wrestling, and it just also being the funnest. Nothing like crazy happened. Like everybody was like with people, so like no like horror stories from the road, but like I was taken care of, man. Like I don't know, like they didn't even ask me to pay for gas, like nothing. Like I had it like kind of made that first like road trip, like, but soon after I would learn it's not always that easy.
I mean, there really is, like, we were talking earlier about, or rather you were talking earlier about how things were for you for training, and how, you know, it was very basic, but, you know, it kind of got you when I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm drawing the parallels between you and I. And then when you're like, yeah, my trainers took care of me and took me out, and I'm like, oh, that's where it ends. Like, because, I mean, like, New York is just such a weird place, and everybody was such an asshole. I even tweeted today, somebody on my friends list had posted about, like, hey, like, why is it not okay for wrestlers to be wrestling fans as well? And, like, all that came to me was, like, all the people at the spot that I trained at, and all the vets, quote unquote, over there, just shitting on all the kids who were, like, passionate about watching wrestling, or, like, you know, if you started wrestling, like, you couldn't, if you went to, like, a Ring of Honor show, when you're ready, oh my God, that's like, you're going to get, they're never going to talk to you. They're never going to want to train with you. It's like, what the fuck, man? It's crazy to think that, like, that is a permissible attitude. Like, you said you played in bands. Like, I played in bands too. I used to work for bands, and you see, you know, bands that go on tour with each other, and, like, the band members from other bands will always be checking out, though, because they love music, and they love those bands that they tour with, and, you know, the songs get catchy because you hear them every night. So you're chilling at the side of the stage. Why is it that we can't be like that? Why is it that we can't be sitting there at the curtain fucking marking out for some dope shit? It's crazy to me how, like, different people are. But again, it speaks volumes to the fact that, like, you know, had the right upbringing and have, like, continued to, like, be this road warrior who's, like, worked around and, you know, done pretty well. Whereas, like, man, like, how many years at this point are you at this?
I'm 5 years in. Yeah,
right.
5 years. Started in 2015.
5 years in, I probably had fucking less than 100 matches because all the wrong people were in my ear. So, like, it really speaks so much to anybody who's listening to this, who's, you know, just starting their career out, of just, like, fuck, get out there, you know, listen to the right people, go about the right shit. Again, I'm here going off on tangents because, like, this is the kind of stuff that I really love to hear, where it's like, yeah, I'm, you know, getting the right fucking education and the right type of shit that, like, you can't really teach in a class where you're taking bumps, you know? Like, you can't teach road etiquette. You can't teach, you know, how to talk to promoters, or how to deal with people, or how to pay dues. You can't teach that in, you know, a 3-hour class where you're taking bumps.
Exactly. And, like, kind of going back to what you said about, like, going to, like, punk show, like, you know, like, I would, like, I played, like I said, played in bands, but, like, I would go to, like, these shows, like, other band shows, like, that we were not on the bill. I would just go there to support, and, like, that was, like, the coolest shit. That's how you, like, that's how you got friends in the scene. That's how you know, like, that's how you networked, and, like, that's how people feel, oh, that guy's an Ari, okay, cool, like, we're gonna check him out next time, like, we're, like, you know, we're not playing, like, you know, like, just stuff like that would, like, as corny as it sounds, it's like you're creating friends, like, you're networking, like, I don't see what the big deal is if, like, I've been to so many shows unbooked, and, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if I'm not going to be used, I'm at least going to watch the wrestling going on, and I'm going to, like, okay, that's what this crowd likes. If I'm here, I'll bring that. Like, I mean, I think that, like you said, it is, like, toxic to think that way. Like, why would you not want these people to further their knowledge by going and, like, learning, like, watching a live crowd? Like, you could watch wrestling on the computer all day. But, like, if you've not seen live wrestling, it's going to be very hard for you to try to make connections with the crowd, because you have to be the crowd at some point if you want to like really, put that shit out there. Like, I think that's like a detriment that people think that way.
Dude, I'm totally with you. I think it's such a ridiculous premise to like hide fandom. I got shouted out earlier in the week by a fan on Twitter because somebody had asked a question like, "Hey, who do you see at wrestling shows, that are on the shows wrestling, but also watching everyone else's match?" And they shouted me at like, "Yeah, Logan goes out there and he like is always watching from the curtains or off the side, and he's like enjoying the fucking." I'm very open about that. Whereas like I love wrestling, I love watching people do their thing, and my favorite fucking thing in the world is discovering new people. And I'm a fucking nerd like that. Like I'm the same way with music, where like someone's like, "Oh, you got to check this band out," and I'll fucking their entire discography immediately. But that's how it is. That's why I think I've cheap plug for IWTV, but that's why I love their shit, because like in that Pawcade match that I watched of yours earlier in the week, the amount of people on there that I've never seen work, or I've just seen like once. Fuck, man, that shit was so dope. I don't what's her name? I absolutely love her gimmick. Hollywood. Oh my god, I fucking love her.
Oh yeah. See, exactly. Like you never know what you're gonna find, and like
right.
I think I was, whenever I first like got like on the road heavily, I was in Iowa, and like I had been to like a camp, like one of Elgin's camps that he ran, and I met Manders there, but like like I really got to see him like find his character like at these shows in Iowa, like, and now he just took off like that. Like, that's cool to me. Like you never know who's gonna be your friend or who you think's gonna be the dopest. Like you said, that's why people should just watch wrestling. Like if you're at a show and you're not watching wrestling and you're a wrestler, you're a fucking idiot. Like
yeah,
it's like free study, like it's study time. Like why not?
Yeah, it's again, it goes back to what you were saying about that, the punk rock connection. That's how scenes are made, man. People go to shows, people in the other bands, whether they're playing or not, they're checking this out. Everybody becomes fucking chill with each other. Everybody supports each other. And this is how we fucking grow a scene. It's why there are no eyes on New York right now. And it sucks so bad. There's not one promotion here in like New York or New Jersey that is like, that has eyes on it. Fucking, what do you call it? GCW is a global company at this point. ICW is like all over the place. So they're not regional at this point. There's nothing regionally with eyes on it. It fucking sucks, because there really is so much talent here and nobody can see it because nobody gets it like you and I when it comes to cultivating that scene.
Yeah, I mean, and like I remember like when I first came in, like there was some good dudes from New York that I was like really like watching, but like I don't see them anymore. And like you said, like it's because the scenes are fading like terribly. Like I've even noticed it in like my area, Southern Indiana. Like when I first started, there was at least 13 companies running like in like a 15-mile radius, and I was like, this is oversaturated, but at least there's a scene. And now like it's just like there's OVW, there's IWA, and PPW. So like from the time I started till now, it's like it is like decimated. Like it's down to 3 companies. Like when there was like literally a show every day of the week almost.
And that's how people get to learn and work. I mean, especially it's always, I put the Midwest in that area. I mean, is that Midwest or is that Mid-South? That area in general where you can kind of work from like Illinois and Indiana and like that general area, all the talent that was coming from there like 5 to 10 years ago was because you had so many, and like you could just work 4 or 5 times a week. And that's how motherfuckers get good. And, up here, you could spit in any direction in like New Jersey and like find a promotion, but a lot of that stuff really isn't that great, and nobody's learning over here, and everybody is, I don't know. I can't be shitting on this area too much.
Yeah, being the home scene, but no, I'm right there with you. Like there's a lot of very talented dudes in this area, and they're all like 5 years or less, and like that's refreshing to me, because like we can be like the positive, like we could change the way like Midwest is seen, because like right now, like for the longest time, Midwest was known for like good workers and like good stuff, but like now it's kind of like it's like up there with like how like the East used to be like in the East Coast, and like how like California, like all those like places that were like popping, Like now it's like the Midwest is just like it's a place to come. Like it's not just a Passover state like area anymore.
No,
I'm very proud of that.
1,000%, man. I say this all the time. Midwest is a place that I need to be getting out to way more often. I spoke to Cole Radrick about trying to make that happen, but who knows? The world is on pause right now. We're gonna figure that shit out. But jumping back into the wrestling talk to me. What other local promotions were there that helped you out when you were first breaking in?
Well, honestly, my trainer was very protective of me. He did not let me I can only work shows that he was on, and we only worked that one show in Southern Indiana, UWA, and then we would go to a show in Illinois called Strictly Insane. So that was the only two shows I got to do for like the first year of me being in wrestling. So like it wasn't like I didn't I don't know how to explain it. Like UWA was kind of like the Misfits of Southern Indiana, and that's probably seeing my training was free and stuff. But a lot of people hated me when I first started because I was I was working real hard, and I was these guys really they're not really vets, but they claim to be. And I don't know, they a lot of them were really salty with me. They didn't want to help me because I was working hard and at a promotion where honestly does not matter. I was getting pushed, and these people were I don't know, they were very butthurt about it, and they would try to beat the shit out of me in matches. So not too many people early on helped me, or other shows helped me, but once I got away from that, that's when it started. Actually I started really to learn.
Cultivating an environment filled with positivity and actual training and teaching and growth is the important part. When you just have people kind of fucking you off at that point, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, and it was actually I know we're talking about our the first year, but going to that show in Illinois, it got me away from the Southern Indiana people, So I met Mikey McFinnigan at the show in Illinois, and he's like, "Hey man, you're actually pretty good. You don't need to be hanging out with the people you're hanging out with. You're just gonna get stuck." And literally 2 weeks later, I was in the car with them, and I was I didn't look back because I knew that you have to sometimes there's just times where you have to walk away and find a new way. And if I didn't do that, I'd probably still be, wrestling one company in Southern Indiana.
No, dude, it's the literal thing that anybody, when I talk to people at shows, are like, "Oh, do you have any advice?" I'm like, I don't care where you work. You could be working at the best promotion in the world. Get the fuck out of your home area and just travel, because there's no better way to learn and see what else is out there and kind of change your outlook on things than there is just getting out and doing work elsewhere, man. I'll tell you, New York fucking made me a miserable son of a bitch for so long, and then I break into New England, I'm like, fuck, and then I break into the Midwest, I'm like, oh, this is great, and then spots in close to Philly or the South, it's all right, this is what it's all about, and that's how you learn, is just bringing in all these different flavors to create a delicious wrestling stew.
Exactly, and I'm glad I've got it very early on in my career. I've worked dudes from all over the country. I've worked a lot of different styles with the people I've worked with. So that's been so helpful to me. Getting out and not sticking in a comfort zone and wanting to wrestle guys that are better than me. That way I can learn. A lot of guys from my area, they don't want to when they wrestle people that can do something for them, they always squander the opportunity, and it never does anything for them because they don't want to get better. They're I'm just gonna stick with my comforts. I don't know. I'm not about that. Being comfortable is okay with me, but not all the time. When it comes to wrestling and stuff, I like to be pushed out of my comfort zones because that's the only way you get better.
Yeah, it's the truth, man. Let's switch gears for a minute. Let's pretend we've got a time machine, and you can go 5 years back. Talk to yourself on that first day of training. If you could tell yourself anything, what would it be?
So, if I could tell myself anything 5 years ago, I wouldn't change anything, that's for sure, because these people that helped me out when I first started have actually made an impact on my life, But I would, I would definitely, I would have got my start there and, took what I could and took it somewhere else, like get some more like serious training. And like, that's something I still do to this day. Like if there's a seminar, I'll seek it out. Like I want to learn new ways, but, I would have, I would have took more control for what I was doing. Like, but like when you're that green, you don't have any control, but like, I would have been more like on top of branding and like, I think I would have like came in more prepared because it took like I'm still trying to figure this shit out and it's 5 years later. So I don't know. Like I think that like if I could change anything, it would just be like just don't ever let people get in like don't like just always be you. Like don't let people change you because like I was the guy that would like I don't know I'm very easily influenced whenever I'm like doing anything because I had no clue what I was doing. So I think a lot of the advice I got early on was pretty much dog shit. I would probably go back and like tell like not hang around a few people that like I started with. But other than that, I think that everything is meant to be how it is, and I'm very, very, very grateful.
Man, you really struck a chord with me when you're like getting that basics together and then kind of finding another spot. It's one of the things that, again, I always put on people because it was a mistake that I made because the culture of Rods' school was very much, you stay here until you get a contract, which just, that worked in like 1987, but, it's not going to work in, 2004, 2005 when I was breaking in. It's, man, it really does make sense where like you get those basics and then the more you learn everywhere else, again, it goes back to that wrestling stew. If you're bringing all these styles of, learning and training from different spots, you're going to be an unstoppable force.
Exactly. And like there's holes in my game, but like, luckily at this point in my career, like I know how to cover up, but like I said, I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to put tools in my bag. So that's the beautiful thing, like you said, about creating like a beautiful medley of a wrestler. It takes time, but whenever it's good, it's good.
Oh, certainly. So now again, we're gonna switch gears once again. I'm jumping all over the place, but that's how the fuck we do it. I wouldn't be the king of chaos if I didn't jump all over the fucking place and go crazy. I gotta present to you a theory that I've got. The theory is that all the weirdest, most unique, craziest people that you meet in your entire pro wrestling life all managed to come into your life in that first year, or, give or take.
Yeah.
So, Big Beef, share with us the most weirdest, craziest, oddest, unique human being that you came across early on in your wrestling career.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so there's two people blaring in my mind. Okay. There's this one dude that we called Joker, and this guy was a juggalo, still is to this day. I don't think you ever stopped being a juggalo, but
not at all.
This guy, his real name's Steven, one of the sweetest fucking guys you'll ever meet. But man, like that guy was like, I remember I wrestled him like one of my very first singles matches, and this guy has been, keep in mind, he's been in the business for like 6-7 years and has no clue how to wrestle, like no clue at all. So like I'm going out there and like within like the first 30 seconds of the match, he's like powerbomb me, and I was like, I could not believe it, and like I dropped him on his head like almost in the turnbuckle because like I was nervous and like literally like I'd never like jump started a match. I was so used to doing like the circle around 5 times, walk, So he's like, just come powerbomb me. So I was nervous and I dropped this man on his head and he's like loving it, like he's like laughing at like crazy like clown laughing. So I'm like I'm trying not to laugh at this guy, and he's just telling me just like dump him on his head constantly, just throw me, just drop me, just throw me out of the ring, and I'm like freaking out, but like this dude is like hyena laughing throughout it all, and like I never got to wrestle this guy, but whenever like I knew him because he was a part of the company that I was with, but like I never saw him like I know it sounds terrible, but like he never got to wrestle, but they put him in there with like me, and like I did not know what to expect from this guy, but he's just in there like I'm like hurt, like putting a hurting on him, kind of like, because it's what he's telling me to do, and I'm just trying to do what I'm told, and like he is loving it. And we get to the back, and the dude is just like, he's like, I want you to wear my clown mask or my clown paint next week because that was awesome. and like he's like we're family now, bro. And like I did not know. I was like, I just full on assaulted this man, and like he is just like he loves me for it. Like he was a character, and there's this gentleman named Nero, and he was in training with us, and like he was another guy I'd been working for like 5-6 years, and like was basically like a Hardy Boy ripoff, and like I don't know, like he was another guy like that just always like try to like vet on me, and like my trainer literally like he's not part of our school, he just comes in to get ring time. You can just if you don't feel like you're being respected by him, just beat the shit out of him, because he's like 5 foot and like 100 pounds, and like this guy, I swear to God, would talk more shit than anybody I've ever met in our life, like anybody, and like was like so like would just take every like blow. Like he would like there was like a lot of weird little fuckers that were like around whenever I first started that just love getting the shit beat out of them. Like I don't know, like I liked it because like I'm a pretty aggressive guy, and like if somebody could take it, like it's cool. But like I don't know, like these guys are just like I'm not trying to be mean, but like just the most weirdest people you've ever met, and like every experience with them was just odd. Like we would wrestle, like when I first started, we would wrestle at strip club, and that Steven guy was there, and he was wearing his mask in the club, and he thought he was so cool. Like he thought he was like legit like running that bitch. Like he's like, yeah, this is my club. Like I was like, God. A lot of weird characters in wrestling. I'm pretty sure I've met more since then, but those are just the two blaring gentlemen that like come to mind.
Yeah, I think the thing about early on more than anything is the fact that it just like hits you, you know, it's straight out of left field, because in like the normal life outside of wrestling, you're not meeting cartoon characters like this, and then there's so fucking many of them in wrestling, and off the bat it's just like, what did I get myself into? Big Beef, where can we find you on social media? And if there's anything else you'd like to hype, go right ahead and do it.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Gnarls Garvin, and or you can just look up Big Beef. That usually brings it up just as easy. On Facebook and Instagram, Facebook is just Gnarls Garvin, and you can also look up Big Beef. That'll bring it up. And then on Instagram, it's at Big F and Beef, and then I have a pro wrestling tee store that I'm actually like, you know, I actually enjoy working with them. It's actually worked out pretty good. So if you want to look me up on there, it's just Big Beef Gnarls Garvin.
Well, dude, thank you so very much for coming on the show and giving your story. I think it's no mystery at all. I'm pretty open about being a huge wrestling fan, and you're one of the people who I absolutely love to watch at this point. I mentioned watching that Paul Cage show, but whenever I turn something on, and I see your name, I get excited. It's going to be fun. You, to me, are what I like about wrestling. A big dude who beats the fuck out of people. And there's no other way to say it. Like, there's no way to tussy that up. I love that kind of shit. And I think that you're doing a great job, and I just fucking love seeing everything that you do. You know, please excuse me for gushing about my fandom right here, but that's just, you know, that's how I go about my shit. And, yeah, man, just keep doing your thing, and I'm going to fucking enjoy it from either backstage or the sidelines. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, and all the same feelings to you, man. I've looked up you since the day I started in this business, so that means a lot to me coming from you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll say right off the bat, probably one of the coolest things to come from this podcast has been to connect with people that I, in general, just haven't connected with before, or, you know, in a big way. My connection now with Gnarls Garvin, Big Beef, if you will probably be one of the highlights as I look back on this, because I feel like I made a friend for life. That dude is so awesome. And thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. Well, before we get out of here, you should go ahead and give us a follow on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Year1Pod. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel on your preferred podcasting app and leave a review. Shout out to Heroes for the music. You can check them out on Spotify. Shout out to Joanna Robinson for all the artwork and design. Jewett Chan on all social media. Shout out to the Funkenstein Wrestling Superstore for sponsoring the show, located at the Englishtown Flea Market in Englishtown, New Jersey, and on eBay. Make sure to check them out and give their Facebook page a like for all your wrestling merch needs. And now they've also got a website, so check that out too. That'll be it for this episode of the Year One Wrestling Podcast. I'm Logan Black telling you, be awesome to each other. Peace and love.